Avoiding Plagiarism with Direct Quotes. In this workshop, I'll explain direct quotes and how to use them in your academic work. This is part of a series on avoiding plagiarism. In a previous workshop, I defined plagiarism as presenting someone else's words or ideas as your own. I mentioned that you need to cite the work of others in your own work to avoid plagiarism, and that citing consists of an in-text citation and a bibliographic reference. Different citation styles provide instructions on how to do this. Now, occasionally, when you're working on an assignment, you may want to include the original words of another author or work. Maybe you're defining a term, or you want to analyze something someone else has said, or someone has expressed something in such a great way that you really want to keep the original wording. Using the original words is using a direct quote. Now, you need to be selective in your use of direct quotes. Some disciplines discourage direct quotes unless necessary, while others are more comfortable with direct quotes throughout a work. You need to learn what the expectations are for the subjects you're studying. Still, you want to make sure the main voice in your work is your own, and that you're not just stitching together a series of direct quotes in your work. Now, when you've determined that you want to use a direct quote, it's important to present the quote word for word exactly as it is in the original, even if there are spelling or grammar errors. Citation styles explain how to indicate when an error is someone else's and not your own. Let's take an example from my assignment on the connection between happiness and social action, in which I'm using an article entitled, "Do Happy People Care About Society's Problems?" from the Journal of Positive Psychology. The quote I want to use is from page 474. Are happy people less likely to be involved in social, political, and environmental action? Contrary to this Pollyanna hypothesis, we found evidence across 3 studies in various social issues that happiness predicts more, not less, social action. First, there are no errors in this quote, so I don't need to concern myself with that. I make sure I accurately reproduce the quote. Now, each citation style has rules for making small changes to direct quotes when needed to integrate with your own writing, such as if you need to change the capitalization of the first letter, remove a few extra words, or emphasize a word or phrase in the quote. For example, say I'm concerned that my readers won't understand the reference to Pollyanna. If I'm using APA style as my citation style, for example, I can remove the first part of the second sentence and replace it with an ellipsis of 3 dots to show that part of the quote has been removed. However, the reference to Pollyanna is the whole reason I wanted to keep this as a direct quote, so I'll put the phrase I took out back in. When you present a short quote, place the quote inside quotation marks, followed by an in-text citation. What's considered short depends on your citation style. It can be limited by number of words or by number of lines on the page. When you present a longer quote, and again longer will be defined by your citation style, present it as a block quote. This means starting a new line in your document before adding the quote, indenting the whole paragraph the quote is in, and then again following the quote with an in-text citation. After the block quote has been added, start a new line, remove the extra indentation, and keep writing. If I wanted my direct quote to be longer by including the next sentence from the original article, my direct quote would be long enough, according to APA style, to present as a block quote. Remember that all in-text citations need a matching bibliographic reference in the location required by your citation style, whether it's in a footnote at the bottom of the page or at the very end of your document. When reviewing your work, a question you can ask yourself is, why have I included this as a direct quote? Unless there is something important about the original words, you might consider paraphrasing instead, especially if you have many direct quotes in your work. In a previous video on plagiarism, I mentioned that citing and avoiding plagiarism can sometimes be confusing, that it's a skill you develop with practice, and that there may be people available to help you. If you need more help, contact your institution's writing center, tutoring service, or library.